I guess what I've learned throughout the time is that there's a lot of dogma, but it kind of comes from both sides. When looking at sort of this low carb way of eating, do you think it applies to a majority of people could benefit, or is there like a certain demographic that you think doesn't necessarily need to partake, or is it like a cyclical thing?
It's a really good question. And you made a very good point that there's dogma and closed-mindedness in every diet camp, including keto. I mean, absolutely. I talk about this exact thing in my new book, co-written with Dr. Eric Westman, End Your Carb Confusion. Looking at the objective facts, there are many, many millions of people living with metabolic illnesses for which some type of low carbohydrate strategy, whether it's strict keto or just some amount of reduction, can be really, really effective. There's no way around that, So there are many, many millions of people that would do really well with a very low carb or ketogenic diet, but not everybody needs it. If you are, look around the world, look historically, we have billions of healthy, lean, robust people that eat fruit, that eat grains, that eat beans, that eat bread, and so it would be silly for me to say that cantaloupe causes diabetes or that people are obese because they eat too many garbanzo beans. This is nonsense. So there's a lot of factors that play into it. In our book, we talk about the diet that is best for you, that's going to be the most effective for you, depends on your situation. And then the diet that's best for you might change over time, because let's say you are 300 pounds and you have type 2 diabetes and gout and all kinds of other things. Let's say you do strict keto for a while, you lose 100 pounds, all these medical problems go away. Then what? Do you have to keep doing that strict thing for the rest of your life? Or is there maybe more flexibility to reintroduce some different foods? And I think there is. And it's really an individual thing, but that's what I think. I think many people can really, really benefit from this, but that doesn't mean everybody needs it.
I think that's a really good point you made, because I think one thing that we need to consider, especially in the United States, is that 88% of the general populace is metabolically unhealthy. Who do you think would benefit from kind of taking a more low carb keto approach?
Yeah, I'll get to that piece of it in a minute, but the other stuff, there's a ton of scientific research proving, I think that's a legitimate word to use, that a very low carb diet is very effective for things like you were saying, obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, which encompasses hypertension, dyslipidemia, so like the low HDL, the high triglycerides, again, the non-alcoholic fatty liver. We know it's great for PCOS, great for hypoglycemia. Some people with migraines do very, very well, very, very well with keto. Some rare lymphatic disorders, lymphedema, lipedema. So even people with type 1 diabetes, and that's controversial, but the truth is people with type 1 diabetes can do a ketogenic diet. Don't confuse nutritional ketosis with ketoacidosis, which is very different things. So carbohydrate restriction is really effective for things that we don't consider metabolic and things that really have nothing to do with blood sugar and insulin, or things that we don't realize are connected with blood sugar and insulin. And skin problems, men, there's believe it or not, enlarged prostate and erectile dysfunction can sometimes come from insulin issues. And I wrote a really long blog post about that. But the neurological stuff is fascinating. And I have to say, the research is kind of in its infancy. There's not as much proven substantiating efficacy as there is for things like type 2 diabetes and obesity and all that. We have a lot of mechanistic stuff, meaning, okay, based on what the ketogenic diet does and based on what we think is going on in these diseases, here are all the reasons why keto should help. And we have some really fascinating, animal models and very limited human trial data. But what we have, while limited, is really promising and encouraging, especially when you consider the fact that the drugs, the pharmaceutical treatments that exist for these conditions, and by that I mean things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and possibly ALS and Huntington's, the drugs are almost useless. So we should be looking for any kind of alternative that has any kind of promise, especially something that's already been so phenomenally substantiated for so many other conditions. What else might this be helpful for?